Hey, welcome to the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce show, Minding Your Business, on News Talk 1380. And I'm Chris Spiker, the host. Happy Saturday. My co-host is Aaron Goldstein. The board operator today is Gil Jimenez. Welcome, Gil.
Thank you.
Yeah. Aaron, who's our first guest today?
Our first guest today is Congressman Steve Knight.
Wow. Steve, welcome.
I am here. I'm present, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I think you're like a celebrity.
Well, my wife would disagree with you, but yeah, we're running around.
You know, you make a great pair, and I appreciate both of you being so involved and working so hard in the community. And you're like our local guy. We really, we feel like we know you, and we enjoy being around you. And congratulations, and thank you for being our congressperson.
Well, thank you, Chris. That's very nice. We are a local guy, so that's what we are. But from one great pair to another, we see you and your wife everywhere and doing great things for the community. So we're very appreciative of what you do and thankful that we live in a community where people do things and don't just talk about it, but actually do something.
It's a big area, but it has a small town feel.
It does. It is.
Right now, you're out of session.
We are out of session. We are in the district until the Tuesday after Labor Day. So gets a lot of time to catch up with things that I just can't do when I'm flying back and forth. And that's meeting with business owners and talking to people and understanding what legislation is working and what is maybe needs a correction. That's a big part of what we do.
Correction. So I felt like Aaron and I were going to get like a civics lesson today. Because isn't this place we live in, this democracy, it's still growing and breathing and
it will for hundreds of years. It is a fact that you need to be aware of things that are happening. I'll just use one big ticket item, but if we are living longer, our generation is going to live longer than our parents' generation on average, and our children's generation is going to live longer than we are on average. And so those are things that we have to be aware of. People are working longer, living healthier lives later in life. And so when we make decisions, whether it be for health care or benefits or whatever, you've got to take those into consideration.
Don't you think sometimes, just kind of watching the world, that we forget how important somebody who is 70 or 80 or 90 or older, how important they are?
Well, absolutely. They are just about everything to us. They are a lot of our historical value. They are a lot of the things that have been learned in life in these generations that they pass on. It is everything to make sure that our senior generation is happy and is healthy, and a lot of that is because of what they pass on to us, but they are very, very active today in later life, and they still are working, and it's great.
Yeah, working or volunteering. Being teachers or whatever it is that their specialty is, whatever their passion is.
We were earlier this week, my staff and I were out at an event with a whole bunch of volunteers. And I would bet the average age of the volunteer that was out there was over 70. And they were helping out wounded vets and allowing them to take glider flights up to Crystal Air and things like that. But, you know, here are folks that are 70 to 80, and they're volunteering and helping out, and it was great.
And they still have a purpose, a
Absolutely, reason. Absolutely. Be active. And as long as you can be active, then do it.
I got to ask you, you serve a lot of people, you have a huge district. Tell me what the boundaries of the district are.
So I have the entire Simi Valley from the Reagan Library all the way up to Happy Face as you go into Simi. And I have all of Santa Clarita. And I have about 65% of the Antelope Valley. Kevin McCarthy cuts out the middle of Lancaster, literally. And that goes up to the Bakersfield area. But you know, we still deal with a lot of things that happen in Lancaster that might be in Kevin's district.
Right.
Just because I'm close here. The hospital district is in his district, but if there's something going on at the hospital district, I'm going to be very involved. And my wife works there, and so we're very involved in that, even though it's in his district. I love my district. I wouldn't want to represent anywhere else.
And I would imagine you and Kevin McCarthy talk.
We do. We talk quite a bit, and we talk about the issues that are happening in the district, especially when it comes to Lancaster, because we share Lancaster. So we talk quite a bit about those issues, and because he is the majority leader, he has a lot of insight on things that I, quite honestly, don't get that kind of behind the scenes look, and he can give me a lot of that information.
They don't tell you everything?
No, I'm a firm believer that secrets are good, and sometimes, if you are in the upper echelon of leadership, then you are doing certain things. I'm kind of in the policy area where I'm, leading policy issues with armed services and science, space, and with small business. So we kind of run our policy issues, and there's a lot of information that Kevin sees on a daily basis that's not secretive or confidential, but he can tell us and help us, especially when it comes to the Antelope Valley.
And he's another local guy.
He's a local guy. Yeah.
Small business background. One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what are you doing, or what programs do you have going on to help small business community here in Lancaster, the Antelope Valley?
Yeah, so we have an awful lot. I have a young lady, Courtney Coombe, in my office who's in charge of all of our small business legislation. And she works very closely with the cities and with the chambers, and making sure that if there's an issue with small business, then we can address it. The very first bill we got signed by President Obama was a small business issue. It allowed small businesses to bind together so that they could go after federal contracts. That before that piece of legislation, it was all of the large businesses that could do that. We've also worked with a new piece of legislation for solar power. And we know the commitment that Lancaster has, and the entire Antelope Valley, Palmdale does too, to solar power. And we want this piece of legislation to move forward because it'll allow new technologies for the storage of solar energy. And so we are constantly working with the cities and with the chambers and with small businesses to find out what is their issues and what are their problems. And I'll just leave you on this last one. We were the leader when it came to the DOL's decision, Department of Labor's decision, to raise the amount of money that you had to pay somebody that wasn't on an hourly salary. It was an hourly paycheck. It was a salary. And right now in certain areas, it was the Department of Labor said your minimum that you had to pay them was $23,000. Well, this last year they made a decision and said, well, we're going to raise that to $51,000.
Wow.
Well, that would hurt small business tremendously. So we took the lead on that. Crescent Hardy from Vegas and I wrote a letter to the DOL, and we got a lot of congressional members. That's because we were in tune with what was happening here in the Antelope Valley, because many of the small businesses came forward. We met in Lancaster, had a round table there, and that was the major issue. So I always tell people, please tell me when something's going on. Don't just assume that we know everything. And if something's happening in your business, I might not know what's going on in the floral industry. Right. I might not know what's going on in the restaurant industry. So please don't, keep that to yourself. We want to work with it.
Hey, we're good in the flower business, except somehow the Bureau of Census loves to send me long, detailed questionnaires. I guess because I'm so good at answering them.
I guess. Or you're not busy enough, huh?
What a bless. Yeah. I don't know. That's like, do you really need to know all that stuff?
I guess.
How about anything to help grow the aerospace industry?
So, I made no bones about it when I ran for the Assembly and the Senate and Congress. There was no doubt that the aerospace industry is very near and dear to my heart. We have, since I got into Congress, we've taken on a big role, and it's called the Roadmap for Aerospace. And you're going to see more and more about that. It's the projects that come out of NASA and the industry, the private industry, and allowing Congress to go in there and have a funding mechanism that will fund it until we get something out of it. So I'm not just saying we're going to throw $1 million and see what you get. No, actually fund it. So I'll end with this. Part of the roadmap is a low boom supersonic demonstrator, which means it will be an airplane that can fly over our heads, supersonic,
Yeah.
and you won't hear a supersonic boom. The second one is hypersonics, having something going more than 3,800 miles an hour. Last time a man did that in the atmosphere was 1968. So
I think I know the guy.
I think you do. So all of that is a roadmap to get us to the new industry, which is higher tech, more efficient airliners, faster airliners, all those things. And I tell my sons, at some point in your life, you're going to fly across this country in 2 hours. Right now, it takes me 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Hey, and how many times do you do that?
On my first 20 months in Congress, I've done it about 64 times.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's not a secret number, is it?
No.
I know
In
you-
fact, it might be 62, it might be 66, it's around there. But yeah, I fly back and forth every week we're in Congress.
The Board of Trade's flying back there one time. We're in the elevator in Washington, D.C., and we're looking around at the people we're flying with. I'm going, wow, these are cabinet members.
No.
In the good old days.
If you get on the right flight, you will be flying with 10 or 12 of them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, you know, we're going to be right back. You can stick around for another few minutes.
I'll be here.
We're talking with Congressman Steve Knight. Let's be right back.